Great. We appreciate everybody being here. Welcome to our July Solidarity Session. Glad to see everybody on the call. As we do with every meeting, we're going to start off with people introducing themselves. You could say your name, the state that you're from, and any organization that you're representing. If you're not with an organization, that's okay too. Just yourself will be fine. I'm going to ask people to introduce themselves based how I see them on my screen. It may not be the same as what it's on your screen. So I'm going to start with Eric. You're right up at the top. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Eric Pitaluga. I'm from Keyport, New Jersey.
And he's part of One Voice.
I'm part of One Voice.
Yep. Frank Cipolla.
I am eating something, so maybe you come back to me.
Okay, Marianne, you're next.
Marianne Schick, Order Sons and Daughters of Italy, Vigiano Brothers on Long Island, New York.
Thank you. Nick Pirro.
Nick Pirro, I'm the Vice President of the Columbus Monument Corporation here in Syracuse and former County Executive of Onondaga County.
Thanks, Nick. Tony Santarelli.
I'm with the Italian American One Voice Coalition.
Vice President.
Vice President, thank you.
Jim from Kentucky.
Jim Bonassi. I'm a member of the Italian American Association of Louisville, Kentucky.
Great. Jerry.
Jerry Carleo, Chairman of the Colorado Italian American Foundation.
Thanks. Miriam. Oh, we don't hear you, Miriam.
Sorry.
There you are.
Woodbridge, affiliated with Greater Westfield Unico.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Lombardo.
Charles Lombardo, Garwood, New Jersey, the president of the Greater Westfield Unico.
Great. Bob DiBiase.
Good evening, everyone. Bob DiBiase, New Jersey Italian Heritage Commission, Chair Emeritus, but Chair of the Italian American Task Force, and also part of One Voice.
Thank you. Anthony Benjavanga.
Anthony Benjavanga, buonasera. Past National President of Unico National, also Greater Westfield Unico, and Italian American One Voice Board of Directors.
Thank you. Frank, are you done eating?
I am. Sorry, I was snacking, and you got me mid-snack. I'm Frank Cipolla. Good evening, everyone. I am a owner of Contacts Media, which gets companies and people and professionals on television. I spent 38 years as a radio and TV reporter and anchor in New York City, and now I do all the broadcast booking for the Italian American One Voice Coalition. I'm also a member.
Thank you, Frank. George, you're up.
George Neves. I'm the Grand Knight of the St. Thomas the Apostle Knights of Columbus in West Hempstead, New York.
Great, welcome. Rich Esposito.
Hi, everyone. Richard Esposito, Greater Westfield Unico.
Thank you. Frank Lorenzo.
Hi, everyone. Now you can see my face. Frank Lorenzo, Vice President, Italian American One Voice Coalition. Glad to be here again.
Thank you. Shelly Ramirez. Shelly, if you could unmute.
I guess my visa didn't connect.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, Josephine, go ahead.
Josephine Mayera, One Voice Coalition, President of AIE, Association of Italian American Educators, and WRHU Radio House University. Ciao a tutti.
Ciao. Somebody with the same last name as mine, Maria Elena.
I have to see if I can unmute myself.
No, you're unmuted.
Oh, hi. Maria Elena Domino, supporter of all Italian.
And that's my sister. She
And
lives
my
in Long
brother.
Island. That's
Yep,
my
that's
sister.
the one.
First time on here. Okay, next up is Marissa.
Hi, Marissa Gambino. I'm past president of Logic Glen Cove, Order Sons and Daughters of Italy in America, and happy to be here.
Great, thanks for being with us. Next up is Dr. Ann.
Hi, everyone. I'm from the Greater Westfield chapter. I'm also One Voice Board of Directors. I'm from New Jersey.
Thank you. Joanna just joined us. If you could say, just introduce yourself, where you are.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Barbola. I am a lifelong New Yorker living in Sarasota, Florida, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna.
Florida.
Shelly Ramirez, did you unmute? Are you there, Shelly? Okay, she might be having a problem. For those that are on a phone, can't introduce you. I won't be able to go through the phone calls, but I think we got everybody on the screen. Did I miss anyone? If you raise your hand, if I missed you, I don't think I missed anyone. Okay, great. So now I'm going to introduce our guest speaker for tonight. As I told you, with the 250th anniversary of our country, which is named after Amerigo Vespucci, and we had that beautiful tall ship from Italy visit us, the Amerigo Vespucci. It was appropriate that we would have somebody related to Amerigo Vespucci come on the call. He's not exactly related to the man, but he's been part of the Amerigo Vespucci Society, which is probably the oldest, or at least one of the oldest, continuously operating Italian-American organizations in the country, with an interesting beginning. So I'm happy to have him here tonight, and I want to introduce to everybody Roberto Ferragina. Go ahead, Roberto.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you. It's an honor to be here with all of you folks, and it's a privilege to hear all those different organization names that you're all affiliated with. It's nice to see that unity amongst all of these Italian groups, that we can share all of our mutual interests and hone into our heritage. So it's an honor. So thank you for having me this evening. My name is Roberto Ferragina, and I'd like to do a couple things. One, tell you just real high level about myself for a minute. Two, tell you about the Amerigo Vespucci Society for 2 or 3 minutes. And then 3, discuss with you our concerns about what I would call a pattern of discrimination against our people, Italians and Italian Americans in particular, throughout the course of U.S. history, starting from the late 1800s to now, because I think that's something that we're all interested in. And I'll try to keep it interesting. I'll try to keep it lively. And in the end, I think I'd like to try to wrap it up by focusing on how we all can come together and keep doing the things that Andre has been advocating for years now. And I would argue successfully advocating and promoting and bringing attention to mainstream media and mainstream society as to what our concerns are in defending our heritage, the true way, the correct way, with historical facts, as opposed to revisionism and lies and miscommunications. So having said that, I was born and raised here in Long Branch, New Jersey. My mother and father are both from Italy. They both are from the same village town called Girifalco, which is in the Provincia di Catanzaro, which is in the Calabria region. So within Calabria, one of the provinces is Catanzaro, and then on the center east, on the Ionic Ocean, is where our little village town is. And I still have an immense amount of relatives there. Everybody on my father's side is still there. And my mother still has 2 sisters, and I have I know I have more cousins than I can even name. I've spent my whole life going back and forth, visiting family and traveling throughout the country. And I love Italy. I love history. A little bit about myself academically. I have a bachelor's degree in history with a minor in political science. I have a master's degree in history. I have a master's degree in administration. I have 8 executive certificates, one of which is nonprofit fund development from Notre Dame, which is basically how to run a nonprofit organization successfully, and a handful of others. I was in the corporate sector for 25 years, and I've been in the public sector for about 8 years now. That's a little bit about myself. I don't know if anyone cares about any of that, but I thought I'd throw it out there so you get to know me a little bit. Regarding the Amerigo Vespucci Society, very interesting, I think. So the organization has been around since 1875. We believe that we are the oldest Italian-American mutual aid society in the United States. We've yet to be proven wrong. If we're not the oldest, we're sure as heck one of the oldest. But in the 30 years that I've been active in the organization, we've never had anyone step forward to say that they're any older than us. We are not affiliated officially with any regional or national organizations. We don't have chapters. We're a one-site location. Having said that, we have very close relationships and have established close relationships with other organizations over the past, I'd say, 5 years. Andre being one of them, and the One Voice Coalition, as well as NIAF, the executive team over at Unico. I would say we've also become close to a few news outlets. We the Italians, based out of Rome, Italy. Very close to those folks. In the New York metro area, the Italian Tribune, et cetera. So we've really come out there and engaged with the other entities within our culture. So who are we? How did we get established? Why did we get established? In 1875, a large amount of Italian immigrants, specifically from Calabria, came to New Jersey and resided in Long Branch. At the time, Long Branch was a resort town, one of the most well-known resort towns in the United States at the time. And a lot of folks emigrated here because there was a train station. And that train station could bring folks back and forth to New York City to work and to Philadelphia to work. That's the primary reason. Beach was here. There was a hospital. There was a train station. It had everything that Italian immigrants wanted. What was unique about it is a lot of them were from Calabria. The city of Long Branch became an Italian enclave. So if you do your research and you find out, and you look at Long Branch, New Jersey, from the late 1800s till about the 1970s, I'd say, throughout that whole period, Long Branch was primarily Italian. 5 different Italian American organizations were there throughout that course of time. Now there's 3 of us that still exist. And it's starting to evolve and change dramatically now. But the Amerigo Vespucci Society, a group of these men, these Italian immigrant men, when they arrived, experienced significant discrimination. What they also experienced was a lack of insurance that they could receive. Nobody would provide them any death benefits at places of employment. Those who could find employment weren't treated very well. They were discouraged to speak their own language. And there are incidents recorded where there were acts of violence against them and open acts of discrimination, signs in store windows, Italians need not apply, etc. So these gentlemen came together, about a dozen of them, and established the Amerigo Vespucci Society. Formally, they have a whole book that they drew up with rules, induction procedures, the whole bit. And that was 1875. In 1893, they became incorporated through the state of New Jersey. Okay, it has evolved dramatically from an organization of Italian immigrant men from Italy who needed to establish this organization in order to help each other and to survive. We have documents that show that these individuals assisted each other in death benefits. Some of them, they were to lose their wife or children. The organization came together and provided burial costs, purchased caskets. If somebody was in the hospital, they rallied together and raised funds to pay the medical bills. And we're not talking about educated people here who were earning significant money. We're talking about peasant farmers from southern Italy who were primarily uneducated. Some of them had a 3rd grade education, some had a 5th grade education, some had no education. But yet they found a way to organize this society. They found a way to come together to establish a place where they could literally help each other survive. There weren't any social programs at that point in time. There wasn't any government assistance at that time. But they were successful in achieving their goal. Fast forward. Okay, now we're at around World War II. They lived through the Depression. The organization still survived. Some of these individuals ran into really hard times. They kept them afloat through the Depression. World War II comes about. Some of them go to the war. The organization still stays strong. Around the 1960s, there was another wave of Calabrese immigrants to Long Branch. And then it started to die down after that, okay? The organization started to die down in terms of number of members. The Italian language, immigrants straight from Italy, less pronounced in the organization, but still there. In the 1980s, that continued. In the 1990s, you saw a dramatic downfall of individuals passing on, new individuals joining who couldn't speak the language at all, who weren't that in tune with their heritage or knowledge of the history of what Italian Americans overcame, or even Italian history for that matter, but the organization still survived. Around the late 90s, early 2000, a lot of individuals got together at the time. A bunch of us were younger. We're not that young anymore. But we said, how can we keep this going and take it to the next level? And since that time till now, we have evolved. We are about 150 members strong. We assist families in need. We're now a 501c3 organization. We assist other entities, other groups, other individuals, both in the county, in the state, sometimes in other states. We offer educational scholarships. And where we align, I think, with the Italian American One Voice Coalition is we strongly defend Christopher Columbus, and we strongly defend the statues that are located throughout this nation and the various cities and towns that are named after Columbus, the academic institutions that are named after Columbus, and all the organizations that hold the Columbus name. We have researched and read a lot of the primary documents. We know that much of what's said out there is just blatantly false and inaccurate. A lot of instances, it's lies told on purpose. A lot of our children are either not being taught anything or they're being taught incorrect information at school. And when we all went through that period of time where statues were being torn down and desecrated, we kept in touch with a lot of organizations to see what they were doing, such as Andre and the Italian One Voice Coalition, as well as others. And we articulated ourselves by sending letters to various Italian American newspapers. We sent official letters to every mayor in every town in the United States that had a Columbus statue, whether they had removed it or not, indicating the correct history and why it needs to stay, and why, if you go down this road, it's a slippery slope. Once you start, there's really no turning back. So that's a little bit about our organization. We are a men's organization. It was started by Italian men from Calabria. We're a paternal organization. Everybody who joins has to have a Italian lineage on their father's side. So everybody in the organization has an Italian last name. We have an annual gala that Andre has attended. We usually have anywhere between 400 and 500 people at that gala. It's held at a country club. And we highlight Italian Americans throughout the state at those galas that have contributed to promote who we are as a people. So that's a little bit about the Amerigo Vespucci Society on a high level. Now, in terms of discrimination and a pattern of discrimination, a lot of folks, when what was occurring with these statues happened, a lot of folks felt and believed that this was new. This was something that kind of came out of left field, and it was just part of some political movement, and it'll go away. When in fact, the reality is that Italian Americans have been discriminated against for a long period of time. I usually start with around the same period of time where the Amerigo Vespucci Society was founded in 1875. And, if you look at that time period, and I think everyone already knows this, but in 1890, we had the largest mass lynching in the United States, in New Orleans, Louisiana. I think we all know the story, following the murder of Chief Hennessy. 250 Italians were arrested. Most had no connection to the crime whatsoever. 19 of them were indicted. 9 were acquitted. And charges against the other 3 ended in mistrials. But instead of accepting the verdict, a mob of approximately 20,000 people stormed the parish jail. 11 Italian immigrants were murdered. Several victims had been acquitted just days before that. And to add insult to injury, when that occurred, there are records in various newspapers that refer to these Italians that were hung as Dagos, Sicilian bandits, quote, the worst class of Europe, and the list goes on and on. As a result, and this ties into the Columbus statues, people think that these Columbus statues just appeared. That Italians just got together and randomly put these statues all over the country. The fact of the matter is, and again, I apologize if everyone knows this story, but it was a very delicate time in U.S. history because there were so many Italian Americans in the United States that this lynching created a tremendous amount of discord between the United States and Italy. It was a nightmare in Washington to deal with this situation. Hundreds of thousands of Italian immigrants went to the streets protesting what had occurred. And in order to subdue this, President Harrison basically declared Columbus Day. Originally, it was meant to be just, you know, a one-time event, but it became a holiday. I know there's somebody on this call here that's a member of the Knights of Columbus. I think I had heard the Knights of Columbus on there. The Knights of Columbus were instrumental in lobbying the White House and President Harrison to make something happen, to help the Italian Americans out in this situation, and to help this situation between Italy and the United States, and the damage that the lynchings had done. So, you know, these statues represent more than just Italian American culture, right? It represents the atrocity that occurred. But it didn't end there. You know, from the 1890s to about the 1920s, there were ample examples from coast to coast of Italians need not apply all over the place. They were not seen as educated. They were not seen as legitimate Europeans. What I mean by that is Northern Italians were more light-skinned, more educated, and they saw the Southern Italians as less than human, so to speak. There were specific examples of these postings in New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey. And as a result, Italians were boxed in and limited to manual labor, whether it was railroad construction or coal mines, sewer construction, dock labor, stone quarries, masons. That's what they were limited to. But because of their knowledge of these trades, they built New York, built Philadelphia. You know, they built these cities and often do not receive the proper credit. You move on from the late 1800s to about 1910, in that period, there was a lot of what they call scientific racism against Italians. Well, what do I mean by that? There were literally doctors and scientists that were claiming that Southern Italians were non-Anglo-Saxon and that they were less intelligent, that they were inferior. And this is all documented. This is what occurred. Our children and grandchildren aren't learning any of this. This is what occurred. It's been swept under the rug. During President McKinley's assassination in 1901, a Polish American, I don't know if he was straight from Poland or first generation, had committed the assassination. However, before they found out it was him, they had already declared through many news outlets that it was an Italian American. It had to have been either an Italian immigrant or an Italian American. And that's what was spreading throughout the country. They just automatically assumed that it was an Italian American. So the prejudice really took hold. Obviously, we all know about the ethnic slurs that became prominent in the early 1900s: Dago, Wop, Guinea, Greaser, etc. During that same period of time, 1920, 1927, another brutal murder against Italians, Sacco and Vanzetti trials. A lot of you might know about that, right? Nicola Sacco and Bartolomeo Vanzetti in South Braintree, Massachusetts. They were arrested, they were convicted, and they were executed on August 23rd of 1927. Barely any evidence, to the point where in 1977, Governor Dukakis issued an official proclamation saying they had not ever received a fair trial. They should not have been executed. Right? Again, something that's really not taught. You know, you move forward, and then you got the World War II years. People say, well, a lot of Italian Americans fought for this nation. A lot of Italian Americans sacrificed for this nation. And they did. During that same period of time that Italian Americans were fighting for this nation overseas, part of the fighting they did was against their own relatives, against their own friends, against their own home nation in Italy. That took a lot of courage and a lot of credit that's never really been given to them. During that time, 600,000 Italian Americans living in the United States were classified as enemy aliens. You know, we all hear constantly about what had occurred to the Japanese, and that story should also be told repeatedly. But what occurred to Italian Americans is not often told. 600,000 people are a lot of people. And those restrictions include curfews, travel restrictions, confiscations of radios, firearms, fishing boats. On the West Coast, and if you look up Californian history, there were fishermen who lost their livelihoods overnight. their economic stature and their family and support was devastated because they were included in part of that 600,000. About 250 Italian nationals were interned in camps during World War II. Prominent people, Joe DiMaggio's family, Father Giuseppe DiMaggio. He was classified as an enemy alien. Couldn't travel freely. He couldn't visit his son's restaurant because of the travel restrictions. The opera star Enzo Pinza was arrested in 1942 by the FBI. They stormed into his place of employment, arrested him. He was held for 3 months, never charged with any crime. To this day, they still don't know why he was held for 3 months. There's no data. There's other than he wasn't Italian. So from a timeline historical perspective, this has been going on for a long period of time. And when we all experience what we experienced with the Columbus statues, you know, there's a foundation there of mistreatment. And those statues represent a lot more than just parades honoring Christopher Columbus. And I think we all need to be cognizant of that. You fast forward, and it continues to this day, because if you fast forward from the 1950s to now, but started in the 1950s, you have the portrayal of Italians and Italian Americans through Hollywood, which after World War II, Hollywood was at its prime. That was the go-to for cinematography and entertainment globally, right? And we were entering the Cold War, and we needed to showcase who we were and promote ourselves all over the world as Americans, and our Hollywood element helped to do that. But how did Hollywood portray us? Well, while they're very entertaining movies and the great acting, The Godfather did not help us. Okay, fast forward: Casino, Goodfellas, Untouchables, Gomorrah, the show Jersey Shore, which is ridiculous. Prominent Italian, gifted Italian Americans such as Scorsese, De Niro, Pacino. These efforts do not help us. I mean, I don't know about anybody else on this call, but I spent 25 years traveling the country coast to coast for business, including Canada. And I can't tell you how many times when people would look at me and they well, you look ethnic. Well, are you Italian? What are you? And then following would be some joke or some comment about the mafia, or some element like that. And I find it very insulting that we are the cradle of Western civilization, and what we've contributed through our art, through our history, through our culture, through our architecture, through law, poetry, and the list goes on and on. Fashion, culinary, our artisans building the United States, literally. That's the one thing that often comes up. And I think through this effort, all of you folks here on this Zoom call, your affiliated organizations, and somebody like Andre, who has the ability to bring it all together and unite everybody, we can share what we all defend, which is our Italian culture, our Italian heritage, what makes us great. And every organization has greatness. I know that Andre's organization is very close to NAGA. Wonderful people, and their greatness and their story should be told as well. But here's the crux of all of this. It's one thing when we tell our story, and it's one thing when people say, what do you think about the statue? It's another thing when another group says, we're going to tell you about your story. We're going to decide to get rid of your statue. Or in NAGA's standpoint, we're going to take away the name of that team because we find it offensive to Indian Americans. Well, how about let the Indian Americans decide for themselves? How about get their opinion on the matter? How about let's bring them on TV and ask them if they feel discriminated against? So the Amerigo Vespucci Society is an organization that looks through that scope, through that lens of, if you have an issue with our culture, bring it to us. Let's have a discussion about it, because we may bring some elements of truth and history to you that you're not aware of. And you may be operating under false pretense, but not purposely. But we have a huge gap in American education in this country when it comes to telling Italian American history and the contributions of Italian Americans. And again, through Andre's efforts, through all of you folks and all your affiliated organizations, we can tell these stories. Like I mentioned before, the Knights of Columbus. How many people know that the Knights of Columbus were influential in promoting the Columbus holiday? A lot of folks don't know that, so that's a little emphasis in terms of what I prepared for articulating the discrimination against Italian Americans and what we stand for at the Amerigo Vespucci Society. We're constantly promoting the good of who we are as a people and the uniqueness. And I'm honored to be on this call. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments, but I hope I didn't take up too much time, Andre.
No, not at all, Roberto. And I tell you, that was a great summary. I really appreciated that. It really encapsulated a very good, in a short amount of time, you really encapsulated a lot of information. I think that, the video of this call can go up there and a lot of people can learn a lot from what you said. And I appreciate that. And maybe some people on this that are on with us right now learn some stuff too. So I will be happy now to open it up to any questions or comments for Roberto before we move on. So if you could just raise your hand and I'll recognize you if you have a comment or a question or criticism. Tony Santarelli.
Yeah, Roberto, also when we talk about World War II, most people, probably very few, really know that Italian Americans were interred in camps. If you mention that, they think only the Japanese were. But many Italians were taken and put in internment camps. Missoula, Montana was one of them, and I think there's one, in Texas, I think it was.
Texas was the other one, yeah.
And most people don't know that.
Yeah,
and also, by the way, I don't know if you know this, the Japanese Americans who could prove they were interred, I think it was 1985 or 1986, each received $20,000 tax-free.
Yeah.
Because one of my partners at the company I worked for was interred as a little kid. He got $20,000 tax-free, as did everybody that could prove they were in an internment camp.
Wow.
Italians, nobody even knows they were in an internment camp.
Yeah. I could tell you that here, there weren't any interned around here, but we had an Army base here at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey for many years. It has since been closed, but I remember growing up hearing stories from a lot of the Italian immigrants that, Italian prisoners of war were held there for quite a while after the war. And a lot of first-generation Italian-American women used to go to the fence line and talk to the soldiers. And some of them met their future husbands that way.
Yep.
And a lot of Italian-American families in this area would go and give them food. And the American Army base allowed it. They pass food through the fence and they chat with them in their language, and some wonderful stories like that, though sometimes those stories lose themselves in history, and you have to revive them again.
Oh, before we go to Frank Cipolla, one interesting fact about World War II, while that was going on here, Italian Americans were, I believe, the largest percentage serving in the military during that time, the largest ethnic percentage. So, it's an ironic situation. Frank Cipolla, you're up.
Roberto, when I was a reporter at News 12 New Jersey, I actually did a 3-part series on what we call the secret story, the internment of Italian Americans during World War II. It's currently on YouTube if you want to take a look at it. But you're absolutely correct. We flew out to San Francisco. We interviewed people who were alive at that time and had been affected by that. We went to Ellis Island. To answer your question with regard to the opera singer Ezio Pinza, the charge against him, we found out, was that they thought through his operatic singing, he was sending messages, secret coded messages to the Italians, on the other side of the world about how to attack the United States. That's why he was imprisoned on Ellis Island. But that was one of my best achievement in my 38 years of doing television news, was actually bringing that story that no one wanted to talk about because it was called The Secret Story. And Italian Americans held it to themselves until we were able to get some people to speak, not only on the West Coast, but on the East Coast. I did have a question with regard to Long Branch, New Jersey, if I might, Roberto. And thank you for the presentation. My grandfather was a baker who worked in Long Branch, New Jersey, and I never understood, growing up in Queens, and he grew up in Queens, how the heck or why he wanted to work in Long Branch, New Jersey, until you just told me it was an enclave for many Italian Americans. My question to you is, why was there a drop-off after 1960 of Italian Americans not emigrating there anymore?
So I don't know exactly, but I can tell you what I think. Now, my parents came here in the 60s, and a lot of the Italians in this area originate from Calabria, but a lot of them originate from the same 5 towns that are all about each other. So there was a wave around that time, and to my knowledge, that was the last wave of Italian immigrants. Now, what I do know is that there was a period of time when Italian immigration in 1924, the Immigration Act, the Johnson-Reed Act, was when Congress dramatically reduced immigration. So immigration fell dramatically because the law favored immigrants from England, Germany, and Scandinavia, while sharply restricting immigrants.
You're breaking up just a little bit. You're breaking up.
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit there, Roberto.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 1924, the Immigration Act basically significantly reduced immigration from Italy, Greece, Poland, and Russia, and started increasing immigration from England, Germany, Scandinavia. So that may have contributed to the decline of immigration from Southern Italy. But there was a wave in the 60s, because I remember as a child might go into different events or families that we were close to their homes, and there would be 10, 15 families all from our town or the next town over in Italy, and they all came here in the 60s. But I don't really know too many folks that came here after that. So I think it's an open-ended question, but I think the Immigration Act, the Johnson-Reed Act from 1924, was a contributor.
Just a footnote to the Ezio Pinza story, and thank you for that explanation, was even though he was interned in the 1940s, he sang at President Eisenhower's inauguration. So in that short period of time, he had been rehabilitated, and they found out it was ludicrous and ridiculous that he was using his voice to send coded messages to the Italians. So, how idiotic is that?
Yeah, and just a little bit of background before we go to Anthony Benjavenga. Before I knew Frank Cipolla, working together with him, I saw those specials that he did, and believe me, everybody should really see it, because it was a series, right? Three of them.
It was a 3-part series called The Secret Story, and it is on YouTube.
Yeah, so everybody should take a look at it, because it was really an in-depth story of this, and actually probably the best culmination of all that information. Frank did a great job on it, and I saw him back then doing that, and then to be able to work with him now has been great.
Yeah, so Frank, I could also tell you, now all these things are coming back into my head. I had written for my master's thesis many years ago in history. My thesis paper was on how the United States prevented Italy from becoming a communist nation after World War II. And one of the things that the U.S. government did after World War II was they had built up and sent funding to build up the Italian merchant marines. And the reason they did that was because they needed to make sure that there were ample ships, and that the supply chain and that the whole system to transport people was built up. So while Hollywood was promoting the United States, and through movies, through music, through radio, through all these mediums, we needed the merchant marines in Italy to be built up so that we could actually transport immigrants to the United States. Once Italy solidified itself as a non-communist nation, right after they parted ways with the monarchy and solidified themselves as a non-communist nation, there may not have been that much of a need for either increased labor or for transportation of a lot of Italians, and that may be some of the reason why the numbers went down in the 60s as well.
That probably added and contributed to that. One last footnote, because I don't want to take up all the time here, but FDR was running for re-election in 1944. He realized that the Italian Americans were a huge voting bloc, and that's when they were disinterned from all these camps, because he needed them to be out there telling their friends to vote for FDR. So they were released actually before the Japanese Americans, and maybe that's why we don't get the credit due us.
Okay, Anthony Benjavenga is up.
Yes. Thank you, Roberto. Great presentation about Long Branch. We used to go there every summer as kids. But I just want to mention the part you mentioned about the prisoners of war. I thought it was Camp Kilmer, but I guess it was Fort Monmouth, because my grandmother used to bring baked goods, homemade baked goods, to give to the soldiers, the prisoners. And after the war, when they were sent back to Italy, we have letters from several of them from area near Naples that used to write to her. So I still have copies of that. The other thing I wanted to mention was also, I was raised in Plainfield. We had the same type of situation with influx of immigration, the early 1900s all the way up to 1960. And suddenly that all died off during the 60s in the same way. And then the Italian community in Plainfield sort of little at a time moved to the other suburbs around. And there's no longer an Italian cohesive community in Plainfield anymore. But that all stopped during this mid 60s, early 70s. So it was very similar.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. We're gonna close off our guest speaker section right now. We have a couple of items, about 3 items that we want to get to for the rest of it. But I want to thank Roberto very much for being on tonight for the presentation. We're going to post this video, of course, and I'm going to certainly have everybody. I'm going to recommend people should watch it because it's a great background that you gave for the history of not only of your society, but of what we faced as our ancestors faced and generations past. So thank you very much, Roberto.
It was my honor, Andre. Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Okay, so I want to bring up one thing. I don't know if you noticed, but Eunice Davidson is not on the call tonight. She's the co-founder and the past president of NAGA. Her husband, David, who's also been on our call before, is going in for some serious cardiac surgery tomorrow. He's having some stents put in and so forth. So although I told her that she should get her priorities straight and she should have been on anyway tonight, just kidding, of course. Just kidding, of course. I extended to her all of our best wishes, and I included them in my prayers. Hopefully David will be okay from this. So her family, her daughter is usually on as well. And so obviously they're getting prepared for a big day tomorrow. So just wanted to note that. But she did say that she wanted me to bring up 2 important things tonight. So she didn't totally neglect what we're doing today. And that's a number of people had asked about the membership in NAGA that originally was started back a little while ago. And some of us joined as organizations or as individuals. So what they've now done is they've coordinated kind of what Robert DiBiase is doing with the educational background for Italian American curriculum. They're working on what they call a center of excellence, where organizations can become part of the center of excellence for Native Americans. And your organization, if you have a building, a facility, an office, or whatever, they'll present a plaque that you can put up there as a member of the Center of Excellence for Native Americans. And she sees the connection with Italian Americans as a very important thing. And they're offering this Center of Excellence. They're going to announce it further on, but also there's going to be an individual membership for people that previously joined as individuals. So that we'll be talking about that probably in the August session to give you more details. But Eunice did want to mention that and did say that really that's come out of some of the interest that's here. And also they've started working on it in some locations where they're providing information to schools and things. Because just like Roberto said, people don't know about stuff about Italian Americans. Well, they don't know much about Native Americans other than what they see in the movies and stuff. So again, we're kind of aligned there between our two groups. So that's one thing that I wanted to bring up. The second thing is actually what we've been very involved with at One Voice, which you probably have seen, was with regard to the ethnic enclave map that was put out by Mayor Mondami in New York. And as you probably know, that raised a lot of consternation here. We jumped on it immediately as soon as it came out. We started notifying other Italian American organizations, and we started really getting people involved. So I just want to ask Frank Cipolla just the process that we used, that what he's done with respect to getting our word out and getting all the different I would call it media aspects on it.
Okay. As I mentioned, I'm the CEO of Contacts Media, which is a company that I use all my contacts from my 38 years in radio and television. I get people like Andre and other groups on television. The thing I have reiterated again and again is that we need to know before these things happen. If you read anything, you find out your city council is thinking about eliminating Columbus Day. Or Roberto, if you find out something with regard to Long Branch or anything in New Jersey, or there's a bill percolating in the legislature that would, eliminate Columbus Day or change some, the sooner you get to me and Andre, the better, because that becomes a story that I can pitch and we could stop it before they follow through. what we've noticed over the last several years is they're doing these things secretly now because they know if it gets out there, they're going to feel the wrath of the Italian American One Voice Coalition and other groups. So it's important if just keep your antennae up, because if you hear something in your town or city, or even something we might have missed, let Andre know ASAP. He will let me know ASAP. Whatever the market is, I have contacts in every major market in the country. We will reach out to that market and create a story where we can tell our story before the city council decides, before the state legislature decides. So again, it's very important to get to us before it happens and not contact us 2 weeks later and say, I just found out, because that doesn't help us.
Yeah, we found out about this ethnic map, which was being put out because of the visitors for the World Cup. And if you don't know, it represented 30 ethnic enclaves, places like Little Yemen and Little Palestine and 3 Little Africas and so forth. But they left off Little Italy and also any of the Jewish and Irish neighborhoods. We found out about it about 9 p.m. I immediately contacted Frank that night, and by the following morning, he'd put out what we consider to be our announcement about this. And then I made, I don't know, about 7, about 3 TV appearances, about 4 radio appearances, and we really bolstered it. And then, of course, within about 3 days, Mondami came out and said, oh, it was an oversight, and we're going to put it back on. Well, it's been 2 weeks now. It's still not back on the map. So the point is, he was just trying to placate us. But another interesting thing happened, and that was, in all of my presentations, I talked about how he discriminated against not only Little Italy, but also against the Jewish communities and the Irish communities. Well, because of that, I was actually contacted by a rabbi who's got a popular podcast, Rabbi Schoenberg, and he had me on his podcast for 25 minutes discussing it. And he did some research on what we're doing here tonight, the Solidarity Session, and he's very interested in our striving for unity and not division. So I think we may have another group joining with us. In working together. I think that
I have a question.
Okay, I'll come to you in a second. So I think that was very helpful that we got that publicity, and I may have Rabbi Schoenberg come on one of the calls because he was intrigued by what we're doing with these solidarity sessions. Okay, who had the question?
Marissa.
Hi, Marissa. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you? Just real quick, we were, when he was doing the presentation about the Columbus Day and everything. Do you guys know Dr. David Richards and Stephen Cerulli?
No, I don't.
That's something. My husband's a physician, and he belongs to the Morgani Medical Society, which is the Italian medical society. And we went to an event, and they had them speaking, and he was saying that the whole, Columbus, and they spoke so bad about Columbus, and that it's not true that they did it because of the lynching. You got it all wrong. That's all the Sons of Italy thing, because I'm with the Sons of Italy. I wish somebody would contact them.
Send me the information. Send me the information. I'll be happy to contact.
I will.
I'll debate them on any of this.
I would love that, because I started to debate them at the dinner, and then I was like, okay, I better be quiet because all these people don't know what I'm talking about. And so I think that because they're going around, giving this information, and it's unfortunate because the one guy, Stephen Cerulli, is Italian, and he's still, we're our own worst enemies,
Yes, absolutely right, Marissa.
Yeah, and as far as like Mondami, it should have been requested from the beginning, like, when is the deadline? When are you going to do this? Because I think he said he was going to do it on his next, whenever the next map comes out, which is going to be in the winter time.
Right.
Which is, already too late,
Yeah, but don't forget, he gave the finger to the Columbus statue and said take it down before he was mayor. So, Rob DiBiase, you're up.
Andre, in response to those comments, I've been following Steve Cerulli for years now. He's on Facebook every other day. He's with the Calandra Institute.
Oh,
and
enough said.
He's just an off-the-wall character, and there's no reasoning with him. No matter what you send him, no matter what you say to him.
No, I've been up against people at the
Don't waste your
Calandra
time with him.
I've been up against people at the Calandra Institute, and it's a waste of time. It's like talking to the wall. So I know what you're talking about. Okay, I see Eric's hand up. Go ahead.
So I mean, with regards to Italian solidarity between the North and the South, I mean, for example, my paternal grandfather, my last name Pilu, comes from Genoa, but with my true ancestry, I could go to the paternal ancestry of like the 11 or 1200s. And so Genoa and Pisa, for example, in Italian history, were fighting over the Italian islands. And, so for example, Columbus could have been of, distant Sicilian ancestry despite being from the north, because on my Pitaluga ancestry line, despite the name itself being from Genoa, recorded in the mid 1200s, in the earlier thousands and the 1100s, I have Sicilian ancestry. So there's for like the way that people try to cover up the fact that Columbus was really Italian and not Spanish, or that there could have been Italian colonies in Latin America. There's evidence for that as well. But I just wanted to point out that the Genoese do carry Sicilian ancestry, so you can kind of like bridge solidarity between northern and southern Italians there.
Very good, Eric. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Tony.
You sent, I think everybody, at least I got a copy of some very offensive advertising. Has anything happened on that, Andre?
Oh, no. Well, that went to our board, actually, but I'll tell everybody here about it.
Oh.
Do you know the incinerator, which is the disposal that goes in your sink? Well, unfortunately, they came out with a campaign now where they've got this guy with just a typical stereotypical representation of an Italian mobster, and he talks about, they wipe out, they rub out the stuff in your sink, and he says he's going to have some ziti and forget about it and all that stuff. So I'm preparing the contact to the chairman of the board of Incinerator just to tell him how offensive that is. So that's just brand new. That just came up, but we haven't released the information publicly on that. We're doing by the way, just so everybody knows, the first thing we do is we do try to work with companies directly, and we've had success with that. When we bring it to their attention, sometimes they work with us and they get rid of it and apologize and so forth. And we've had that many times. If they don't, then we go to the next step of bringing it to the public. We had a situation. We had a situation that just occurred last week in Scranton, Pennsylvania. There's a minor league AAA ball team there that was having an Italian Heritage Night, and they had it with one of the Sopranos stars, and they had all kinds of things related to mobs and so forth. So I contacted immediately the manager or the owner of the team, and he apologized. He said that that it went out there previously. It was supposed to be a Sopranos night only, not Italian Heritage Night, and they shouldn't have connected the two. And because of that, he's going to have a separate Italian Heritage Night with the local Italian American organization there. So as I said, we try to work it out with people in advance, but we'll be working on this incinerator thing.
What about the sign that you leave Brooklyn? Forget about it.
I know that's been up forever. We've tried.
I've called too. Yeah. That's terrible.
I know, Marissa. That's been there for a long time. We can't get rid of the damn thing. I know.
Listen, with a name like Gambino, let me tell you something. I could tell you stories. Okay.
I can imagine.
It's very sad.
I know. Sad. I can imagine. Unfortunately, we get all tied with that. When I was first elected to the council at 24 years old, I was the youngest councilman elected. They said the only reason I won was because my family was connected. Not that I knocked on.
They told my husband he bought his license.
Right. Well, not that I knocked on 1,900 front doors to get the votes, but because I was connected.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, Nick, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to again mention to the group, Andrew, I sent you a picture of the Columbus Monument in Syracuse. I emailed it to you. If you get it, would you could send it to everybody just so they see what I'm talking about.
Sure.
But we're in the middle of this real battle with our city administration and the previous mayor who just left office but was behind this scheme now. He's got our local historical association hooked up with a group out of Minnesota, and they're conducting a situation where they're going to have artists reimagine the Columbus area and that area in our city. It's interesting. The artists that submitted from our area who have done fantastic work. One guy did the King Monument in Atlanta. Another one did our Korea, Vietnam. They were all rejected, but nobody knows because everything's secret, and the jury that's going to make the decision are all secret names, and they won't release anything. And but it's another battle that we're encompassing. We fortunately got a good legal team, but we need all the help we can get with groups letting people in this area know that they won't stand for it. And we're fighting it tooth and nail, but the more help we get, the better off we are. Our website is columbusmonumentsyracuse.com. Please go to it, learn more about it. And if I can provide more information to anybody, be happy to do it. But it's a real battle, and it's in a historic district, but there's been a group that's determined they want to take it down.
Yeah, and Nick, I did on their behalf, I did send a letter on behalf of the Italian American One Voice Coalition, which Nick has just asked me now to send to the local newspaper. I could send it to everybody after this call, just so you can get an idea of if you want to send something, some information that could help you if you want to use stuff that's in my letter. And also, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just saying also, I sent you the picture. If you did get it, please forward it to everybody.
Sure.
That I don't have everybody's name.
Yeah, no, we'll take care of that. Okay, we're a couple of minutes over the hour. As you know, I don't like to break the IBM rule, but Jerry Carleo, if you could just give us just maybe 2 minutes about about what we discussed at the beginning of the call.
Okay, so everything that you guys are talking about has been percolating for several years. And one of the things that Andre and I talked about here about a year ago.
Josephine, hold it, Josephine.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
So we talked about a way of maintaining the history of all of these monuments and statues. If you consider we want to maintain the history, regardless of whether they were damaged or not, doesn't make any difference. We don't have a central repository. So we've been working very hard for probably almost 9 months now to put together the Italian Heritage Coalition Network. And the point of that is to design it as an international storage repository for all of the monuments and statues. What the original idea was is we wanted to try to provide a location in the United States that would be essentially like the Canton, Ohio version for all the Columbus monuments. And our original idea was to have everyone create their own little miniature monument, but it's logistically impossible to make that happen in a timely manner. However, if we do it online through the IHCN, the International Italian Heritage Coalition Network, you can get to that repository right now via our foundation website, the COIAF.org. And then on that main site, you'll look for the link that takes you to the Italian Heritage Coalition Network. My invitation to you is to work with you, not to overtake anything that anyone has done, but to provide a common link and a search tool to find it after you have put the link in. One of the hardest things to do, even when you run a website or even on Facebook, is to try to create the traffic awareness through all of the SEO activities that each of these websites do. So rather than try to expect that everybody becomes an SEO magical authority, we can consolidate this and look at the IHCN as essentially like the card catalog to the library of all of these Columbus monuments and statues, and whether it's a historical site or not makes no difference. Again, if you have an opportunity to go, Andre, I'm sure, is going to put that in the notes. So don't worry about writing the address down. But I want to go back to Nick Pero just for a minute. Nick, on your website, on your Columbus Monuments, Syracuse, New York, is that the monument with the 4 Indian faces on each of the corners?
Yes, it is. You're muted, Nick, but yes, it is. You're muted, Nick. There you go.
Yes, it is, Jerry.
Okay, so one of the most interesting things about the monuments in the Northeast is that they were almost all, especially the one in New York in the circle, they're all showing a common activity with the indigenous population. So we have that same type of thing even in the one that we did in Colorado, but it wasn't featured on the monument. Those are the backstories that I think that are very, very important for not only all of us, but for our legacy. So if you guys are open to doing this, I've also put together a series of Italian Heritage Minutes. Everybody starts talking about Columbus Day on October the 1st. And then we try to figure out what we're going to do for the month. And again, I'm going back to what Andre and I did last year. What we did last year was we developed 31 days of Italian Heritage Minute summaries that were originally designed to be PSA identified so that they could fit in that 60-cent spot, that 60-second spot for radio and TV advertising. This is not a new idea. The Black History Month, every time you turn on the TV at dinner time on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for 28 days, what do you see? You see a Black History Month Heritage Minute. And that was the idea that I basically ripped off, and I wanted to do it for us. So if you go to the Italian Heritage Coalition Network, there's no fee for any of our mother load organizations to be on that. You can register for free. There's only one thing I want to warn you about. Because of the diversity with so many cities, if you attempt to register your location and the city is not found, please contact me. We are building a list that's pretty dynamic. So we have a little bit over 2,500 cities, but that still pales into comparison on how many cities there are in the United States. I hope that makes sense. And Andre, again, thanks for letting me chat about this. I think everybody's kind of coming to a head on this. All of these things that Nick was talking about, what you just talked about regarding the notices to the mayor and these hidden agendas, this is not good. This needs to come to the light, and the only way we can do that is we're all pulling oars in the same direction. I think we're doing a pretty good job in this group.
Okay, great, Jerry. Thanks. So I'll put that out, and you don't have to. I'll send that out in the follow-up email to this meeting. So the meeting will be posted on YouTube for everybody. If you could send other people to go and watch it, that'll be fine. Marissa did ask about if anybody knows of a statue that may be available. Marissa, I'll talk to you about that. I've got some potential leads. I'll let you know. I have been in touch with people at Glen Clove before, and I know that they've been looking for a statue. So
it's been us.
Yeah,
it's been myself and my husband. Yes.
Yes. So I'll discuss that with you separately. There is some possibilities there. Okay.
Thank you.
We're at 9:08, believe it or not. So we're over the 1 hour, but I appreciate it. I think it was an interesting meeting. I want everybody to really keep in their thoughts and prayers. David Davidson, hopefully he'll have a successful day tomorrow with his surgery, and they'll be back on the next call in August. But in the meantime, I want to thank everybody for being on tonight, and let's continue to fight for unity and not division among all of us. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Andre, and everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao,
ciao.
ciao.
Good night. Good night.